Hey guys, it's Ellen. Long time no see, and I'm gonna be honest, I have no excuse for it. Not gonna make excuses. I just have not been reading. I haven't. And it's okay. It's okay because I have had other things going on, and I've come to terms with the fact that I haven't been reading as much as I used to, and as much as I used to have time for. So, with that being said, I'm going to get into the books that I have read in the last couple months. I think it's March, April, and part of May. Yeah, let's just get right into it. One of the first things I read in this time period is Sex Criminals, which is a graphic novel, and this one I really enjoyed. I thought this was very well written. It had a really interesting plot line that really captivated me. I mean, it's a little bit on the adult side, I would definitely say. So don't pick this up if you're under the age where this would be appropriate for you. I mean, you can make that judgment with you and your family. But it had a really cool, it was totally different than what I thought it was going to be. The artwork is really easy to follow. If some of you might know that I have a hard time with graphic novels, if the writing is sort of all over the place. Or if it's sort of in the more of a comic book style, but I found this one very easy to follow and very enjoyable. I like the characters. I thought they were very strong, very interesting and complex, and I'm definitely looking forward to picking up the next one and more in the series. I also read Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. This has been getting so much hype around the booktube community. I guess not right now, but a little bit a couple months ago it was, because the movie was coming out. And so I had it on my shelf for the longest time, and I was like, well, it's as good a time as any to pick it up. I found it very moving and very much not what I expected. I knew the premise going in. It's about this girl who becomes a caretaker for a man who is a quadriplegic. Their friendship, and more than that, blossoms. The main character, Louisa, is just so very unique, and I think she's really relatable, even though she's kind of like out there and like eclectic, has a very eclectic style, but I really think she's very relatable because she's so real. I feel like she's a very real character. And then of course Will is just, he's hard to get used to at the beginning of the story because he's not the nicest person, but he ends up being just such a heartthrob, and I just think this was so well written. I definitely want to read more books by Jojo Moyes. I finished The Aftermath by Ridian Brooke, and this one I had talked about in a past video, about how it takes an interesting perspective on the time after World War II in Germany, and sort of taking a look at who of the Germans are really responsible for this. So like, are civilians responsible for what the terrible things that happened? How relations between different countries are after this terrible event. I really liked the majority of this book, but it just fell flat at the end. Nothing really happened, and yeah, I love the idea of this book and the writing in this book, but it just didn't really go anywhere for me, which was really disappointing. I was expecting more from this, but I still enjoyed reading it. Next, I read Born Weird by Andrew Kaufman. This one was a really quick read. I flew right through it. It's about these siblings who each have like a curse/blessing that was given to them by their grandma. Like, one of them is never lost. One of them can like immediately forgives. What's another one? Oh, another one is hope. Like, forgiveness and hope, they can be really good things in some situations, but they can also be really detrimental in other situations. So it was really interesting that these characters embodied those certain characteristics, and they were really interesting to read about. The one thing I found about this book was it's incredibly unrealistic. There's nothing about this that could have ever happened. I mean, yes, I should have known that from the beginning when there was a curse/blessing put onto this family, but really these characters were all just caricatures, which is one of my biggest pet peeves. I really like when characters are real, and none of the people in this book were people that you could find on the street or anywhere in the real world. That being said, I did enjoy it, and it had a cool kind of interesting lesson to it, so I would recommend it. It's not my favorite, but it was definitely enjoyable. Next up, I read The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. I think that's how you say her name. This is an art copy from like a million years ago. I actually found it at a thrift store after the book had already been released. But this is the copy that I have, so I don't know if there's anything changed from this version to the finished version. But I found this one to be really, really interesting. I haven't been really feeling very interested in YA lately. I mean, I haven't been really interested in reading at all, but definitely not reading YA. So I was surprised that I was being drawn to this book on my shelf and just was really in the mood for it. It kind of follows a similar storyline to a lot of young adult fantasies in this, like, that have been coming out lately. It's a strong female character, which is great. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. She sort of proves to the people around her that she is not going to be pushed around just because she's a female, which I love. I think that's awesome. It's a really cool storyline. And I love the setting of this one. I'm not sure exactly where this takes place, but it's definitely like in the desert. And there are princes and kings, and it's very atmospheric, which is something that I love in books. I love when the setting is really its own character in the book. And I definitely found that here. I think I was somewhat spoiled for what happens going into this. I would have preferred not to know how this version of Arabian Nights or 1001 Nights differs from the original version, because this is a retelling. I wish that I had gone into it thinking that it was just a retelling and not knowing anything beyond that, and sort of coming up with realizing what's going on my own. I also think the main character in this book, Shahrazad, she knows that something is fishy, and she's like not trusting her gut. It seems strange for her character to be doing that because she's so strong in every other instance. I am going to be picking up the next one in this series, probably not anytime soon, not until I get in the mood to read the next one, but it's definitely a solid start to a series, and I really enjoyed it. On to the books that I am currently reading right now, and I am planning on finishing in the month of May. Hopefully I'll be having more time. I've been feeling more just wanting to read. The weather's really nice. I've been wanting to read outside. So hopefully I'll get to these. If I don't, I'm not going to put pressure on myself, because that's just is not a good thing for me. If I pressure myself to read, then I don't enjoy it, and what's the point? So I am thinking that I'm probably going to finish these 2 books in May and maybe some other ones. But I started reading Wonderland. This is by Joyce Carol Oates. It's actually the first Joyce Carol Oates book that I've picked up. I have quite a few on my shelf that I've collected over time. But this is the one that I decided to dive into. This one was actually recommended to me by somebody in a bookstore when I was like, I want a Joyce Carol Oates book. What do you recommend as the first one to read? And they showed me this one, so I bought it. This one is definitely the epitome of literature focusing on rural American life. Not a whole lot is happening in this book, I'm gonna be honest. But for some reason, this one character who is the thread throughout the entire story, there's different sections and parts of his life. His name is Jesse. What's his last name? Jesse Vogel. He is the thread throughout the entire story, where there's lots of little stories going on within it. And it's sort of how he progresses from a terrible thing that happens in his youth throughout the rest of his life, just being in lots of very different situations. That's incredibly vague, I know, but that's really what this is about. It's a very vague storyline. So the writing is obviously beautiful. I hadn't read her before, but now I want to read so much more of her because it is just captivating. I feel like I'm there in the story. I'm almost halfway through this one here, and I've been reading it for quite some time now. Like I said, it's not an action-packed story by any means, so it's just a little bit more of a slow read, but I actually really do like to have this one going on while I'm reading the other book that I'm reading, which I will show you now. The other book that I'm reading is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I am nearing the end of this. Can you see? This book, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to finish this today because I have quite a bit of time, and I think I'm going to go outside and read it. And if you have watched my videos before about V.E. Schwab novels, they're very hit or miss for me. I'm not at all a fan of her archived series. Vicious was pretty good, but not like up there as my favorites. This book is incredible. I am absolutely loving it. It is so interesting. I am like, it's really helping me get back into reading and just being I think about the story so frequently, and I just want to dive back in all the time. So that's really good. That's what a book should do, in my opinion. So it's very action-packed. The characters are fun. I wouldn't say they're like the most unique characters in the world. They're sort of archetypes of characters, but they are enjoyable. The main character's name is Kel, and he is an Antari, which means that he can travel between different Londons. Some Londons have magic, some other ones do not. I think that this story was so much more fleshed out and well thought out than any of her other stories, V.E. Schwab's other stories. I just found so many issues with the Archive series about like technicalities of the magic system and the way the doors worked, and this is very similar in the fact that you can open doors to other worlds, but I just feel like this is so much better done, which is so interesting because it's the same author, but I just feel like this one, it was so much more thought out, and I love that because I feel like I'm like getting into it more and more, and my questions are being answered rather than me having more questions about how the world works. That makes a huge difference. The other main character in this is Lila, and she is a strong female character who doesn't take crap from anybody. Love that. I never want that trope to go away because it's great. It's awesome. This is a book that I really want to read. The next book that is coming out, or came out, it came out already. Darker Shade of Magic. What is the next one called? If you know what the next one is called, put it in the comments below, and I'm sure you do because I'm a slacker and I just don't know. But I will be reading that one soon, very soon. The other book I want to mention, I'm actually not currently reading, but as soon as I finish A Darker Shade of Magic, I'm going to be picking this one up and absolutely devouring it. I can already tell, and that is, dun dun dun, A Court of Mist and Fury. Oh my god. I pre-ordered this one. I got like the Target deal where if you buy it from Target, you get like a bonus story in here somewhere. I don't know how exciting that really is because it's like a story she wrote as a deal to Target, but who cares? Anything that is written by Sarah J. Maas, I want to read it and I want to eat it up. I just want to eat it all up. So I want this in my brain. I have no memory really. I have very small like little snippets of memory of what happened in the last book, but I know that I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I actually read it, I think, almost exactly the same time of year last year, because I remember I was graduating college and like during finals I would be doing this instead of studying for finals, if that makes sense. So a whole year later, and I don't remember what happened in the last one, but I just want to get back into it. I love it. I'm so excited. Oh, so excited. Okay guys, so that is the end of this video. I really hope that I'll be able to give more content to you in the near future. I really would love to start reading more and sharing more of my opinions with you and getting your feedback because I love doing that, but if I haven't read anything, then it's really hard to do. Those are all the books that I read in the past couple months and sort of an idea of what I'm thinking about reading in the next month or so. Not exactly sure when. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!